Don't fight the Fed. The trend is your friend. And don't fight the tape. Those are Wall Street, famous Wall Street sayings for a reason, because they're true. And right now, we do not want to fight the Fed as they cut interest rates into what, the backdrop for the market right now is excellent. I would say that we have a Federal Reserve cutting interest rates into a pretty decent economy. And so that's good for stocks. And we're seeing it reflected. I'm going to go through a ton of stocks today, and we're seeing it here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, closing at an all-time high today of 42,863. I went out to dinner last night with a bunch of friends, and that's all they were talking about was the stock market, and they got their statements, their quarterly statements, and everybody's in a good mood because they're making money, and you have to invest in the stock market. And I'm going to tell you why, because the financial media is hyper focused on inflation, and we're always going to have inflation. My dad bought his home in 1964 in Cupertino for $30,000. He sold it in 2000 for $1 million. A nice chunk of change, but now it's in 2024, 24 years later, it's worth over $4 million. And that's just the way it is. If you buy a home, or if you bought a home in the last few years for 500,000, in another 10 years, it's going to be worth $1 million or more. And that's just inflation. I could put it another way. It's like in 2020, I weighed 200 pounds and I gained 10 pounds. So in 2021, I weighed 210 pounds and I gained 5 pounds. In 2022, I gained 5 more pounds. So I was up to 220. And then 2023, I gained 3 pounds. So I was 223 pounds. And this year in 2024, I gained 2 pounds. So now I'm at 225 when I was at 200. So it's like inflation, it keeps going up. It's just a slower rate of inflation. So prices are not going to come down. They're still going to go up as long as the economy is good. I mean, we had in 2020, we had the supply demand was skewed because of the virus, and there was no demand and prices came down. And that's kind of what the Fed is guarding against. They don't want deflation. And so they're going to cut interest rates. And I'm just making a point that we're going to have inflation. It's just a slower rate. And it's a good backdrop for stocks. So I'm going to get into stocks. And I'm not going to do the Magnificent Seven today. I'm just going to go through the indexes and some leading stocks. I'm going to have to leave out the miners, the oil, the finance, China, emerging markets. I'm going to leave out a lot of good stuff because I'm going to get to stuff that I'm interested in. And if you think I'm a jackass and missed on a couple of stocks, you can leave those stocks in the comments for me. How about that? Somebody asked me about a couple stocks that I have to get to today, and I will later on. Anyway, you're looking at the Dow Jones, which I mentioned, closed at an all-time high. So, like I said, people are in good spirits about those who invest. You have to invest. I just gave you a perfect example of why you need to invest in the market. If you're just spending all the money that you make in 30 years, you're not going to be very happy. The SPY as well. Broke out of that little shelf. I'd mentioned it earlier in the week. It broke out of its little shelf pattern here on Wednesday, pull back a little on Thursday. There you can see the pullback to the 21. It's just blasting higher, making new highs. IWM, it's lagging, but looking better. Like to see it above that old 212.52 level here soon. It's just forming a base and consolidating. And our Nasdaq is doing better, but it's still lagging. I mean, it's in a power trend. It's trading higher. I mean, if you're trading Nasdaq stocks, you're probably doing pretty well. It's just underperforming the SPY and the Dow. So anyway, Nasdaq was up 60 points or 61 points on Friday, 0.33%. It closed 4.5% above the 50 and 2% above the 21. This 50, it's got to start rising, and Nasdaq, maybe hover around the 327 area, 300, 400. Let it catch up a little bit, because we know when the Nasdaq gets, above 6% above that 50, it starts getting wonky, and we don't want it to get too hot. But anyway, it's going to do what it wants to do. Like I said, I'm going to look at stocks. I'm not going to look at the Mag 7. I'm going to look at stocks that I like. This one I had on our ready list last week. As it broke above that's downtrend line. The standard is 140 area, but I think you got to get in sooner. I like it, anything above 120 was fine. Closed Friday, 134.80. There you can see it broke above. What was that? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. So last week we put it on the ready list, and it was up nearly 8%. That's a big move for a stock, that's a $3 trillion market cap stock, 3.3 trillion. And you can see on the weekly, it's consolidating in a late stage base. But NVIDIA looks fine. A lot of the semiconductor names look fine. Taiwan Semiconductor is going to report earnings this week, and this one looks really good. Broke out of that cup with handle, surfing the moving average, getting a little ahead, maybe some short covering ahead of that print here this week. But I expect them to report good numbers. AMD had new products announced last week, and Lisa Su was doing the PR tour with her new products. I think they're going to do well. I'm a little biased because I like Lisa Su and I like AMD, but I would also like to see them trade above, they're well above this trend line here. It's just kind of floundering, pulling back to the 200 like a magnet here. I had an inside day on Friday. So AMD still has work to do. ARM is one that I was going to put on the ready list Friday, but I didn't. And it broke above its downtrend line, but it has work to do too. You can see that cup with handle pattern last week broke above that downtrend line, just a tick. But I think that 150 area is an area of it's actionable. 152 ARM looks fantastic. ALAB, they also announced new products last week. STRL Labs, you can see it's a recent IPO, and I have to go to the weekly. This thing was up 27.5% last week. And if you're looking at IPOs, you're saying, this is like your due diligence, and maybe now it's hitting its advanced phase. We're going to have to wait and see, but I think that's worth taking a swing at. Maybe it pulls back here to the 60 area, 62 by the 10, but that thing looks fantastic as well. Broadcom, pretty sure we had this on our ready list last week. I've had it on quite a bit as it broke above its downtrend line recently. And then pulled back to its 21. We've seen this a lot too. This little bull wedge pattern as it pulls back to a moving average on light volume and then finds support at the 21 and blasts higher. It got up to that old standard buy point area of 185 and pulled back Thursday and Friday. But to me, Broadcom looks fantastic. I'm biased. I like Broadcom. PI, this is one of the leading stocks in the semiconductor group. It's a smaller name. It's got a below 7 billion market cap. You can easily see the breakout here, and it's surfing its 10 EMA. So this is one of the stronger stocks in the semiconductor fabless group, and it's been up with volume here the last 5-6 weeks. So that's it for the semiconductor names. I've got to move on to the leisure services cruise lines groups because this is blowing me away. You would think that, put it this way, when these stocks are doing well, people are spending money. They're traveling and these are just, making new highs. I mean, there's not much to say here when stocks are making new highs. That's bullish. And this thing was up 13% last week. So this is Carnival Cruise Lines, and there's nothing more bullish than new highs. RCL is Royal Caribbean. Once again, broke out of that cup with handle, pulled back to the 21. We've seen this so much, where it just pulls back to the 21, finds support. That just looks like technical trading, and then they keep buying it, and big volume move. And RCL is going higher. Norwegian Cruise Lines, once again, making new highs. Nothing more bullish than a stock making new highs. I like it when my stocks make new highs. I hope you like it when your stocks move to new highs. And, in this kind of a market, you don't really need to, look around too much. If a stock's not, within 10, 12% of a new high, then you could just move on. Because in this market, they should be. Let me see here. Unless you're patient and want to pick out bottoms, but that's not my style here, and that's not what I'm doing. And then the last one I want to point out is an IPO, Viking. I bought this one. I had it on my ready list last week. Just took a little flyer here as it pulled back to the 10. If you look at the weekly here, this is a pretty pronounced IPO base here that it broke out of last week, up nearly 3%, made a new high. You can see that it made a new high and then pulled back. And new highs are bullish. So 38.68, is that the last of the new highs? Probably not. Anyway, that group is fantastic. So I'm going to move on to another group that I like a lot. Software, there's a lot of them. I'm not going to get to all of them, of course. I'm just going to show the ones that I like here. And AppLovin is one that I really like since that breakout at that 91 area. This is one of your stronger software names here, just beasting higher. Now it's doing the Kelly Slater, surfing that moving average there. So you gotta love that. Yeah, I changed it to the 60 EMA because I was looking at another stock, which I'll get to in a minute. But I'll switch it back here to the 10. And that's pretty much basic moving average 10, if it just surfs that 10, you can see it was on the 6, but yeah, surfing the 10, that's fine. As long as you own the stock and it's above the 10 and the 10's going up like, it was 128, 130, 134, 137, Friday, 139. You just hold it, you're making money. So AppLovin is making people money, obviously. Palantir, once again, strong software name, surfing the moving averages. Once again, this wedge pattern that we're seeing, just wedging back. You might want to call that a shelf back to the 21, and then it just pops higher. That one looks fantastic. ZETA, Catherine Zeta Jones. This one pulled back to its 21 on Friday. I didn't even notice that, and I own this stock. But it's just been surfing its moving averages. Pull back to the 21 on Friday. Okay, it dipped at the open, and the dip was bought. And that's another thing that we're going to see in bull markets, that dips are being bought. So you don't wait, you don't buy the dip, you buy the bounce after the dip, and I'm going to get to that in a minute as well. You just saw it there with ZETA. But there's other stocks that I've seen that are, being supported at moving averages. This is Monday. Gotta go to the weekly here. They made a new high on last week on Friday, but yeah, a new 52-week high. And you can see right here, 1.3% above its 52-week high. So just a strong software name. And what is this one doing? Recently, it pulled back to its 50, found support, bounced, pulled back to the 21 on this light volume here, and now it's bounced, making new highs. So Monday looks good. Another one that I really like in the group, I don't talk about it as much as I should, and this is CLBT. Yeah, broke out of the base, ripped up, made this little shelf pattern. And I mean, if you're one of these Darvish traders, you could say it just jumped out of that box last week, so that would be actionable if that's your style. There, you can see that big move higher, and it made a new high on Wednesday. So we like new highs, folks. I like when my stock makes new highs. 1873 is the magic number there. And then Cloudflare, this is another one that broke out of this like Darvish type box. And I keep toggling back and forth. Right here, just broke out of this little consolidation. So that would interest those, Darvish, box traders right there. And I know a lot of people trade that way. So if you look at it on the weekly, you could say, broke out of that stage 1 base, and now it's just forming a stage 2. And there's your box pattern right in here that it broke out of. So probably going to build the right side of the base, and you could see the standard on the weekly is 116 for Cloudflare. And I'm going to move on from this group. I know there's more software names, but I've got to get to some of these cybersecurity names. These things have had more leaders than sex partners at a Diddy freak off, man. CrowdStrike was doing it for a while. This thing fell off and now has rallied back. You can see it's forming a base. Zscaler, this one has been a leader for a long, long time. This one looks ready to break out of this little box pattern above that 208 area would be nice. Palo Alto Networks was a leader for a long, long time. Just go back to, the monthly chart of Palo Alto, and this has been a huge winner for a long time. So they're just switching leadership here. Palo Alto, you can see on the weekly is just forming this base. You can see that pullback there. Let's get this one on the daily once again. Yeah, right here to the 50 and found support. Traded up to 375, pull back, to its 50. That took a few weeks, and then it undercut the 50 and then rallied back through, but it's got that 380, 84 standard buy point there. Another one that has shown leadership is CYBR. And this one traded at new highs last week. Just another strong stock in this group. I don't know. You tell me which one's the leader. I mean, they all look good to me. This is Checkpoint. They traded at a new high last week as well. There you can see a big move out of that consolidation, that 3 weeks tight area. Actually, it was 4 weeks tight. So, Okta, there's just a ton of them here. Okta doesn't look as good as some of the others, but it has had these big moves. And the last one I wanted to show in this group, Fortinet was a leader, a long time ago. My wife worked there back in, I want to say 2012 or 2013. Yeah, before the stock split, it was, I don't know, like a $30 stock, but it split. And look at this thing go. And she should have bought more of that stock, but it's been a leader. CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Zscaler, Checkpoint. I mean, they're all just super strong right now. So you pick which one you like. I don't own any of those right now, but there's a lot of them that look good. I'm partial to CrowdStrike because I know a lot of people there and I have friends there and I know they're good people. And I like the company. And I think they have, unique offerings that the others don't have. And, they took that blow with the outage that was self-inflicted, this one right here. And it sure has rallied back, more than it was down to 200, closed Friday at 320. So that's a heck of a move. So anyway, I'm going to move off these and go something that I like a little more, and that is retail. Love the retail stocks. This is SE, and this one is a Singapore-based company that is, it's an retail internet, and it hit 100 and got rejected. I don't know if that's going to be resistance or not, or if it's just going to go through that. It formed this shelf pattern, allowed the 10 to catch up. This is a really strong stock. Then got rejected like Matombo at the 100 yesterday, but still, I like that name a whole bunch. eBay, this one has been making new highs as well. You can see it's surfing its 10 EMA. If we look at the weekly, this is a weekly review. Traded at that 52-week high last week, and you can see it's 2.1% off of its high, 67.72. So that one looks good. And then Walmart, mighty Walmart. Oh boy, what do we have here? You could tell me by now. I mean, hit that high of 81.60. It's forming this little bull wedge pattern as it drifts back to its 21 on light volume. I'd be willing to wager. If you don't own it, could take a swing at it right there at the 21. I bet, this thing's not a fast mover, but I would bet that it would bounce 2 or 3% next week following that pullback. Last week it was down 1%. So I'm going to keep my eye on Walmart. Anyway, any more retailers? Oh, okay. I've got to go to Boot Barn. Another one that's pulling back to it's 21 on, below average volume. That looks good to me. It's probably going to find support and bounce next week. ON, another one that's pulled back. This one, continues to pull back and find support. Rip higher, pull back to the 21, find support, rip higher, pull back to the 21. Just a very consistent trading pattern for On Holdings, finding support at the 21. And like I say, that 21's going higher. That magenta line's going higher. As long as it trades above that line and you own it, you're in chips, man. That's what it's all about. All right, I'm going to move on to another retail group that I like, CAVA. Yeah, I like CAVA a lot. This one, we're saying 128. Yeah, okay. 130, 152. What do we see here? A bull wedge pattern back to its 21, found support and bounce. On the gap higher, it pulled back to the 10. And I was just concerned with that 110 area because that's the low of the gap day. And it never breached the 110. You can see this 110.66, 110.30, 110.34. So it tested and retested 110.31. And then it couldn't be dragged down into that gap zone. And it just started trending higher. Pulled back to the 21, found support. Now making new highs, so I don't know what else you want from a leading stock. That's a leader to me. Sweet Green's another leading stock. You can see the base on base pattern. Tried to break out on Friday and then pulled back. Let's see what that looks like on the 5. And yeah, gapped higher and just sold off. Profit taking into the close. So watch for that one next week. Finding support at its 21 there. That would not surprise me. I sound like a broken record. Yeah, you can see the base on base has not broken out yet. So look for Yeah, you look for sweet greens above 39.75. I'd say above 40. Let it break that 40 level before getting too frisky. And then the last one in this group is Texas Roadhouse. I like this one. It's kind of, what is it doing here? It's wedging back to its 21. And we've seen this over and over and over again. If you're at MC Stock Charts, and I've been pointing these out every day for weeks now. Pull back to the 21. I would bet that bounces next week. Just a guess, just an educated guess. And then Brinker, the Chili's, Maggiano. I guess Chili's, they serve great margaritas. Pull back to its 21 here in this little wedge pattern, found support, bounced higher, and now it's just waiting for the moving averages to catch up. You know, I believe it made new highs last week. Absolutely. And slight pullback, but that one looks good as well. All right, I'm moving on to the power group. Oh boy, I got a lot to cover today. This one pulled back sharply. I mean, it went from 72 to 143. You know, we had it on our ready list there as it broke above the downtrend line about 82. My trade was 82 to 132. You know, with size, if you trade with size, a move like that can make your month or your quarter. That's a big move. But it pulled back to its 21 on Friday. It looked like just technical trading. Here's a gap down and just got bought up all day. You can see the high volume close there for VST. To me, I wouldn't be surprised if that resumed higher next week. CEG, Constellation, same action here. Pull back to the 21. And I'm going to bet we have a, yeah, pull back here. And that's what you call buying the dips. I mean, you don't buy this dip because you never know how low it's going to go, but you buy the bounce. And so if you want in on those, I think they give you a chance. VST is the leading stock in the S&P 500 this year, so that stock is in demand. People want to own it. This is GEV, and this is just a one-way stock. It looks like AppLovin, right? Ever since it broke out from that 185 area, it's just been straight up, just wedging back to the 10 every so often. It'll give you a chance. Maybe a shelf here and allow the moving averages to catch up. You can get it next week. Super strong stock. This is Jerome Powell stock. Broke out of that base around 198. Now it's at 262, but if we look further back, this thing has run from 146 up to 260, 265 in a very short period of time. I mean, 146 on September 6th, so a month later, 263.50. Thank you very much. That's a hell of a move. And you can see all the big blue volume bars down here. So that stock's in demand. That's not Sally buying that stock. Quanta, a little quieter mover, but very strong stock nonetheless. You can see this one consolidating in this base, breaking out here on the 20th, the week of the 20th, next 3 weeks, just powering higher. It's just grinding higher. This one's a grinder. And I kind of like those slow and steady stocks, just pulling back, gently to its 10. It's a pretty easy hold here. Gently pulling back, rising up, gently pulling back. Fantastic stock. Sterling, a little more volatile. This one ripped off its lows, pulled back to the 10, found support, now trading higher. So that one's really strong as well. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Last couple things here. I got to mention just some random names that I'm going through, strong stocks that I like. This is Uber. There was the beneficiary of Tesla's, I think IBD called it a toothless presentation, or somebody called it a toothless presentation, where Elon says his, robo taxis aren't going to be ready till before 2027. Well, that's an eternity in the stock market. So Wall Street's just going to sell now, and ask questions later. So I got to go to Tesla first, then I guess. So it's sold off on the news. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Uber, the beneficiary, making new highs. Once again, pulling back to the 21, duh, and then finding support and bouncing. And like I said, if you're one of these Darvish traders that want it above the box, because when you're above the box, there's no overhead resistance. It's the line of least resistance, as Livermore would say, LLR, line least resistance. Uber has it right now. Another one, line of least resistance is a micro strategy. There you can see that 200 number, very pronounced. It just went through that like poop through a goose. Close at 212.59. Big move off that 113 low. This one's super strong. One of these Bitcoin, digital currency. It's the strongest of the digital currency, and you can see this very pronounced consolidation. That looks great. I would take a swing at this, even if it didn't pull back. Very strong stock. Another one in that Bitcoin, digital currency group is Robinhood. Here you can see it just poked out above this little, consolidation pattern, that box on the weekly. And there you go, man, 24.88. To me, that thing is still actionable. I don't like it, so far, above that 10 EMA. What is it, 7.5%? So I'd like to see that 10 EMA catch up, and it'll probably pull back next week near 25 if you're lucky for a couple of days. But a very strong move for that one. DoorDash is one that I really like. I'm in love with the weekly chart here. If you go back and look at the history of model book stocks, you see a lot of them that look like this. That they have a big sell-off. Of course, we were in a bear market, right? Now it's trying to emerge out of this, bear market into this new bull market that we've been in for a year and a half or so. Cup with handle, massive breakout, and just trading higher here. You can see the big volume bars here lately. They're above average, and then let's see what it looks like on the daily here. Yeah, pronounced cup with handle just breaking out. Made a new high, then pulled back to the 10 and found support. So we like stocks finding support at the 10, just right along. So as long as it's above the 10 and the 10's rising, you're making money. Another stock that I like, a couple stocks that I like, just random names here, is VRT. We got this one on at MC stock charts when it traded above. It's a downtrend line here, about 82 area, just like VST. And I'm getting a lot of people asking me, can this one move like VST? Well, obviously, yes, duh. I think it will, but it's not as fast. I mean, we saw how fast VST moved from 72 to 143. This one is not as fast, but if you look at the weekly here, this is still consolidating within a base. It hadn't formed a base since last June of 2023. So it made this big run, for a long, 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 long time. Yeah, it had a little flat base consolidation, but that's a long time to run. And now it's formed this base for 19 weeks. Just broke out recently, and I think it's going to go higher. I mean, I own it, so I'm biased. But you can see this wedge pattern here back to the 10, finding support, pulled back one day to the 10, then bounced Friday. And big volume bars here. That's not Aunt Sally buying this stock. So I like that one as well. Carpenter is one of the leading stocks of the leading groups, steel, specialty alloy, top 10 group. This is a top stock in the group. Once again, pulled back that one day to the 21. If you didn't catch it, you got to be quick. Now it's grinding higher. And then the last one I'm going to show of these randoms are IESC. This one's been a leading stock in the building maintenance group. And let me see, what else did I want to show? Oh, somebody asked me to look at AKAM. Not a fan, kind of weak. You can do better. And then NNE, nano nuclear, IPO, still in its institutional due diligence phase, got some work to do. I wanted to point out one of the randoms, not really random, is Arista Network. We had this one on our ready list a while back, broke out, pulled back to its 10, found support, now just ripping higher. And then Radware, another one in the networking group, just broke out on Friday, 2306. It's not a real liquid name. It's 219,000 shares traded daily at $24, but it's breaking out of this box. So I thought I would mention that for those who like that type of trade. I know there's plenty. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. Except for in the name of the great Steve Jobs, in honor of the great Steve Jobs. He used to always say one more thing. And I'm sensitive to the folks in the South who got blasted by Hurricane Helene and Milton recently and recovering now. It's going to take a long time. So my thoughts are with you down there. in the south part of the United States. In the East Coast, do have some friends out there that got hit. So we're thinking about you. But I just wanted to point out the hurricane trade. Home Depot's obviously one. As you know, we recover from the damage. You know, Home Depot's obviously going to be a place where we're going to have to get supplies. And this one is just making new highs, looking very strong. Lows, same profile there. So the hurricane trade is kind of sad to take advantage or make money off tragedies. But I'm just a stock picker, so I'm showing you strength in stocks. So RPM, this is the DAP, sealant, Rust-Oleum, and you can see this one. What did it do? It pulled back to its 21, didn't it? And then it ripped higher to new highs. What else? Oh, Sherwin-Williams paint store. Obviously, we're going to have to paint. This one pulled back to its 50 recently and then popped. Now it's above its moving averages. Oh, Generac, yes. Generators, we should all have generators anyway, shouldn't we? Pulled back to it made a new high, pulled back to its 10 last week, and it looks like it wants to just climb that 10. So, yeah, I wish I had a Generac, but I don't. Some of my friends bought them. They're pretty pricey, but they're nice to have. ACOM, this is another construction company. Just, now it's, trading off its 10, following the 10, finding support. FLR, heavy construction, Fluor. This one still looks good in a base. That should be on my ready list. How far above the 10 EMA is this one? It popped, so it's 3% above the 10. I like to get them a little closer. If it could just tighten up around 50, I would love that. And then TGLS. This is my last one, I promise. And then this one, obviously, the glass, we're gonna have to be replaced in these commercial and residential buildings. So another one that'll benefit on the reconstruction recovery in the southern part of the United States. I didn't get to a lot of areas, a lot of groups that are doing well. We're in a really strong bull market. The indexes are in a power trend. I mean, I just showed you a ton of stocks. You just stick with leading stocks, and I think you're going to do fine in this market. We don't fight the tape. Don't argue with it. We don't fight the Fed, and the trend is our friend. Thank you for watching. At mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.